when you see a resume, what are some of the things that you look for? And on that same note, or maybe a related note, what are some instant pitfalls that immediately come to your attention and that tell you that maybe this isn't the most strongest candidate behind this?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things about a resume that a lot of people don't realize is that it's not enough anymore simply to list what your duties and responsibilities have been in the past. It's those quantifiable achievements. So it's saying not only this is what I did, but this is the impact of what I did. So whether it's, decreasing costs, increasing efficiency, it's using percentages, it's using numbers, and it's taking your duties and responsibilities a step further. So I'll give you an example. There was a job seeker I coached the other day who was a
Mhm.
recruiter. And so I was like, I could definitely help her. And when I looked at the resume, it simply stated, like, I filled these roles, but there was no substance around it. There wasn't any sort of like, these were the number of roles, these were the level of roles, this was my time to fill, this was my candidate acceptance rate. And I think that with any for most jobs, there's ways that you can quantify your achievements. And again, it's the job market is so challenging right now that people have to find a way to differentiate themselves. And part of that is through their resume. I see a
Yeah.
lot of resumes that are sloppy, that have typos, that, like, if there's bullet points, the bullet points aren't lined up.
Mhm.
People are putting pictures on the resume, which is a huge no-no. I see a lot of people indicate like the year they graduate college, which I think is a no-no. Some people go back
Interesting.
like 30 years of experience. I don't think that's relevant. So what I do is when I coach job seekers, I look at their like specific situation. I look at why they're looking for a new position, what kind of role they're looking for. And then based on that, I help them kind of strategize, okay, this is what I think you should include. This is what I think you don't need to include. What I see a lot of job seekers do, especially people that have been working for many years, is they'll include experience from like 25 years ago. Well, technologies change every year, and things that were relevant in the year 2000 are not necessarily relevant now. And so the other thing is, and as much as I hate to say this, the truth is that there is a lot of ageism that takes place. And so I think what a
Interesting.
lot of people do is they go so far back on their resume where I don't want a recruiter to ever have a reason to turn. And I'm not saying this happens all the time, but it does happen where recruiters might say, well, I don't want to hire someone that's 55 years old. Well, if you go back 30 years on your resume, it's going to clearly show your age. And so
Yeah.
just keep
Yeah.
the most relevant information, quantify your achievements, make the resume look and feel good. I say always include your LinkedIn URL at the top of your
Mhm.
resume. It's not enough anymore just to include like your phone number. You have to include your LinkedIn URL. Don't include your entire address. City and state is sufficient. And the other thing I say is that it's okay to indicate on a resume why you're no longer at a company. With so many people being laid
Okay.
off, specifically since COVID, there's a lot of people I speak to that have had like 3 jobs in 5 years. And I think it's okay to indicate like why you're no longer there, because I don't want a recruiter to look at a resume and automatically disqualify someone because in their mind that person's a job hopper, when a lot of
Mhm.
times, people are getting laid off. It's not their fault. It's better to explain that on a resume. And then this way recruiters won't necessarily make an assumption that
Mhm.
someone's a job hopper.
Would
A lot of
that just be via the last bullet, say, of that particular job experience? You can just be like laid off during the mass layoffs in June
Yeah,
2024 or something? Gotcha.
yeah,
Gotcha.
typically what I say is the way to lay out a resume is at the very top, put your name and then one long line under that
Huh?
of your email address, your city and state, your phone number, and your LinkedIn URL. And then I think it's really good to have like a highlight section at the top
Gotcha.
where you list 4 or 5 bullet points. That's really the highlight of your career and the things that you're most proud of and the things that you want
Yeah.
employers to know about you. And
Yeah.
then start with your most recent position and then work your way down. Now, my son's in college, so his resume, because it doesn't have a lot of work experience, his education is going to be at the top. But someone
Interesting.
who's been working, I would say put your education at the very bottom, start your education again with your most recent position, work your way down, and then have bullet points. I'm not a big fan of paragraphs, like, so
Mhm.
take each job, put the name of the company, under the name, put your job title, and then put your dates of employment. And there, I think, is where you can indicate why you're no longer at the company.
I see.
And then I would say anywhere from like 7 to 10 bullet points per position, using quantifiable figures, making sure the verbs are in either, current tense if you're currently working, past tense if it was a former job. I think the lookout has to be very crisp on a resume, because
Mhm.
typically recruiters aren't spending a whole lot of time per resume.
Yeah.
You want it to be so pleasing aesthetically that you want to give a recruiter a reason to really want to learn more about you.
Mhm.
And the more pleasing it is to look at of a resume, I think that's better. I get asked a lot of questions about resume length. I am not a big fan of resumes ever over 3 pages. I don't think anyone ever needs to have a resume over 3 pages. Someone like myself who's been working for 20 years, 25 years, my resume is 2.5 pages. I simply couldn't get it less, and that's
Right.
okay. My son, who's in college, his resume is 1 page because he doesn't
Right.
have that much work experience. So I don't think there's like a magic number. I think
Mhm.
it depends on how long you've been working. But I would say, as a general rule of thumb, no more than 3 pages. I've seen resumes that are like over 10 pages, and I'm like, oh Lord, no one's going to read a resume that's you know, over 10,
That
anything. So try to keep it concise and clear and clean. And again, those quantifiable achievements, I cannot stress enough how important that is. Don't just list what you did at your job, but what was the impact of what you did.